Welcome to the brilliance of Britney's debut era. Before the world knew Britney Spears, she was already entertaining the masses through commercials, talent shows, and Mickey Mouse. Britney was only 16 years old when she helped revive the teen pop genre and took the world by storm. When Britney came onto the scene, she was immediately marketed as the small-town Southern belle with big dreams. At this time in pop music, the genre was dominated by a lot of bands, mainly boy bands with the exception of Spice Girls and a few others, but we had yet to see a pop princess quite like Britney Spears. This isn't to say there wasn't pop girlies doing their thing during this time, like there was. I mean, I really wasn't living through this time, but there was just something missing in the pop music scene until Britney Spears came along. On the 12th of January 1999, Britney's debut album, Baby One More Time, was released. Baby One More Time is a teen bop dance pop record with girly, addictive lyrical content, which captured the hearts of teens all over the world. Musically, Britney's vocals were very strong from the beginning. However, her label pushed for her to have that distinctive baby voice to fit her bubblegum pop sound that they intended for her. Imagine coming onto the scene with the strongest vocals and then being pushed to do a baby voice to fit the mold of what a bunch of men wanted you to sound like. Anyways, I digress. After the release of the single and the album, Britney's popularity skyrocketed. Everyone and anyone was either listening to her music or talking about her. Of course, the album went straight to #1 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 120,000 copies in its first week. As you can already guess, the single and album became such a global success, and it made Britney Spears the best-selling female artist of 1999. Her single, Baby One More Time, became one of the best-selling singles of all time. She was certified platinum 14 times. At the time, she was the youngest person to get this certification. I can't keep up. In just her debut alone, Britney was already breaking so many records. During this time, Britney was doing appearances, commercials, performances, interviews. Like, she was working overtime, making sure that her album was being promoted the right way. To support the album, Britney embarked on her first concert tour, the Baby One More Time tour, which was sponsored by Tommy Hilfiger. I'll be discussing the visuals and aesthetics of this era in part 2. Welcome to part 2 of the brilliance of Britney's debut era. So we left off discussing how Britney embarked on her first concert tour, which was sponsored by the one and only Tommy Hilfiger. Watching back these tour videos, you really notice a big difference in how concerts really used to be, especially like in the 90s with the teen pop sensations. Like, Britney was doing everything: the choreography, the dancers, the set design, the costumes, everything was perfect. For her first concert tour, this was really impressive. Britney didn't seem shy or nervous. She seemed really confident and knew what she was doing. As well as being incredibly talented, Britney's image played a big part in her growing popularity. It seemed like everyone was intrigued by this empowered yet innocent young woman. Although it was structured from the beginning, Britney actually played a role in a lot of her music video concepts and costumes and tour looks during this era. Her music video for Baby One More Time debuted that iconic schoolgirl outfit that would go on to be recreated multiple thousands of times in pop culture. In terms of her everyday style, Britney had a very simplistic girl next door look. Her day-to-day looks consisted of wearing jeans, white tops and tees, and just everyday basic style for that girl next door look. But on stage, she would wear a lot of belly tops and sparkles and colours. And even at award shows, she still had that innocent vibe going on, which made sense because she was a teenager. Britney and the colour pink were inseparable during the late 90s. She wore it so many times with accessories or in her actual clothing, even her eye looks. Like, pink was Britney's colour. I would say her whole aesthetic pretty much consisted of looks like this. A lot of pink, some sparkles, belly tops, anything like teen related, that's what Britney was wearing. I can't help but notice, but in all of her cover art and photo shoots for this era, Britney is posing very childlike in all of them. This isn't wrong, obviously, because she was like 16, 17, very young, but I find it very interesting. Like, I think that was definitely part of the marketing tools to just portray her as this like innocent Southern belle who shan't be tainted. This debut launched Britney Spears' career and became an influential pop masterpiece. The album shifted the pop music landscape and gave us one of the greatest pop songs ever. Britney's ability to have such a strong work ethic at such a young age made her become a teen pop icon in just her debut era. With this fame and success, the world became obsessed with Britney's music career and personal life. At this point in Britney's career, the pressure was high. After the commercial success of Baby One More Time, fans were eager and hungry and thirsty for more Britney music. So when Britney released her highly anticipated sophomore album, Oops, I Did It Again, on the 3rd of May 2000, the world went mad. I would describe this album as another teen pop album, but with a slight mature sound. It has R&B and funk influences, and Britney's vocals are a lot stronger on this record. Not to discredit Britney's vocals on the Baby One More Time album, but she just experiments a little bit more and just tries out different vocal arrangements on this record. Now, her lead single, Oops, I Did It Again, was slightly criticised for having the same style as Baby One More Time. I guess I understand why people questioned it and I guess criticised it, but I personally feel like it takes a certain type of artist to be able and manage to duplicate the same success, if not exceed the success of a previous single / album, not to mention their debut. So in my opinion, I think it's impressive. I personally feel like all the great artists continuously try and push the boundaries of doing something that other artists wouldn't do because they fear failure. And someone like Britney, like early on in her career, could have been like, no, absolutely not, I don't want to do this. But she did it and it was still successful. So in my opinion, it's a win. For the sake of the video, I think I'll refer to the single as Oops and the album as Oops, I Did It Again. This record-breaking album debuted at #1 on the Billboard charts and sold over 1.39 million copies in its first week. Those insane figures just prove how popular Britney was becoming. Did I mention this was Britney's second studio album? Did I mention that? Did I? Oops became the best-selling single of the year, and Oops, I Did It Again became the best-selling album by a female artist in the year 2000. It doesn't stop there, guys. This album held the record for the fastest-selling album by a female artist in the United States for 15 years. Just let that sink in. During this time, Britney was a machine. She was doing TV interviews, performances and appearances, including a very controversial and heavily criticised MTV VMA performance. She was also the host of SNL for the first time and was also a musical guest. The amount of work that this woman was put through during this era, like, I don't care how old she was, like, that was too much. Stay tuned for part 2 on the Oops, I Did It Again era. Welcome to part 2 of the Oops, I Did It Again era, the birth of a star. In this era, it really seemed like Britney was so eager and excited to share her talent and her new music with the world and her fans. However, I would say it was in this era that the media began a growing, insufferable interest in Britney's personal life. It felt like when it came to Britney, no question was off limits in interviews. Like, they would ask her such personal questions about her relationship or her sex life or her body or just creating drama between Britney and other artists. Like, they were insufferable. It really is shocking to watch these old videos of Britney in interviews and these grown adults asking a young, just freshly turned 18-year-old all these personal questions. Like, it is so gross, and I really wish that there was more people that stood up for Britney during this time. To further promote this album, Britney went on not one but two concert tours. The first one was called the Crazy 2K Tour, and the second one is known as the Oops, I Did It Again Tour. When I say this woman was working overtime, like, who does that? Two concert tours, and they were very close together. Like, I don't know how she rested. Let's discuss some of the visuals and aesthetics during this era. Her outfits during this era were slightly more provocative than the Baby One More Time era. For example, in this outfit, Britney's wearing like these dark pants with that like bracelet and her accessories and the tattoos and the eye makeup. It's just making everything a little more sexed up or edgy or provocative. I don't know, but it was definitely a difference from the sweet little Baby One More Time era. It was just giving a slightly more mature vibe. Her hair was a little different. Ugh, I just love this picture and I love this energy that Britney had. I absolutely adore this red carpet look. I think it's just beautiful. It complements Britney so well and it's just giving like effortless glam, but it's still in line with the whole sexy, mature vibe that she has going on in this era. I feel like Britney's aesthetic and personal style quickly became the standard for upcoming pop girlies. Whether it was with Christina or Mandy Moore or Jessica Simpson, I feel like record labels were really trying to emulate that Britney look. And even sound, to be honest, even her sound. What Britney achieved with the Oops, I Did It Again era was absolutely remarkable. She became such an unstoppable force, and this era was truly a transitional period for the future era. Welcome to the making of the Britney era. As the Oops, I Did It Again era came to a close, the media and the world could not stop talking about Britney's controversial VMA performance and how she was a bad role model and blah blah blah. Regardless, as Britney was closing off this era, this was probably one of the best times in Britney's career. She was at the height of her career. Britney in her bag Spears is what I'm going to call her for this era. She was seriously in her bag. She performed at the Super Bowl. She made a hefty amount with her Pepsi endorsement deal. She was in a happy relationship with Justin Timberlake. It really seemed on paper that Britney had it all. How could I forget? She was also featuring in the film Crossroads, so that was like a big deal for Britney. This was Britney's version of a break before she released her third studio album. Just deep that for a second. My break is sleeping in my bed all day. Britney's break is grinding, endorsement deals, movies, like everything. So even though Britney was still making money moves and she was still about, people missed her music, her fans missed her music. So on the 31st of October 2001, when Britney dropped her self-titled album, her third studio album, everyone was excited. Britney is an R&B and pop record with EDM influences. This album shares themes of adulthood, sexuality, coming of age, just to name a few. Within just a couple of minutes of listening to this album, you could already sense and feel and hear the vibe of a much more mature Britney. Her vocals are even stronger and her lyrics are a lot more salacious and mature and adult. Now, to promote this era and album, Britney graced the stage at the VMAs once again, which I know a lot of adults during this time were probably super displeased, but she graced us with her 2001 VMA performance of Slave for You, I'm a Slave for You, and it went off. She was strutting her stuff with a live python around her neck, singing Slave for You in this absolutely incredible costume, belly dancing. Like, Britney actually gave us pop culture gold. It was pop culture gold. Her vocals and her confidence. This era was already off to an incredible start. Fans were buzzing and waiting for the music video and for the song and for the album as a whole. Everyone was absolutely crazy over Britney once again. Stay tuned to part 2 of the making of the Britney era. Welcome to part 2 of the making of the Britney era. So, we last left off discussing Britney's iconic, phenomenal VMA performance that she did once again. Not the first one, the second one with the python. We digested it, we engaged, and we understood how iconic that was. Once again, in this era, Britney topped the charts and broke records like no other. Let's talk about some of the achievements that this album made. This album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and sold over 745,000 copies in its first week. This made Britney Spears the first female artist to have her first 3 studio albums debut atop the Billboard charts. It doesn't stop there. Britney held the highest debut week sales for a female artist in the year 2001. To promote this album, Britney did her usual run of promo, live performances, TV appearances, whatever she could to get this album heard. And of course, it included her highly criticized VMA performance. I don't know what it is about Britney, but they love to hate on Britney. Like, the kids loved her, everyone loved her, she's iconic. During this time, the 2000s, everyone was just so, I don't know what the word is, but that was art. Britney gave us art for free and they didn't appreciate, the media did not appreciate it. Fun fact, in 2022, GQ named Britney's self-titled album as one of the 10 essential pop albums of the century. And it makes sense. Now, to further promote this album, Britney embarked on her 4th concert tour, the Dream Within a Dream tour. An even bigger tour than her last concert tour, paired with theatrics, dancers, lighting, incredible costumes. I'm so mad, like, I wasn't there to witness this. Like, sometimes I wish I could go back in time and be born like a little bit earlier so I could be like a teenager during this era, because the looks, let's get into the looks of this era. Let's start with her album cover. This one is a lot more sultry than her previous one. Even though Oops, I Did It Again, she is looking a little sexier than Baby One More Time. This one is definitely giving me more mature vibes. Like, she's showing a little bit of cleavage. Her hair is looking disheveled. She's just looking like, I'm not a girl, not yet a woman vibes. Like, you guys know what I mean. Stay tuned for part 3, where I discuss a lot more of her tour looks and her overall style and aesthetic during this era. I do feel like there was a significant shift with the approach that Britney took with her style and aesthetic during this era. The Britney era was all about Britney embracing her sexuality, embracing her adulthood, and just being fearlessly herself. And I feel like that really was expressed through her clothes. This outfit is one of my favorites from this era. I think she looks absolutely stunning. Her hair, her light makeup. I think this is at an awards show. I'm not sure which one, but I think the outfit is just beautiful. Like, it doesn't look trashy, it looks classy, even though it's slightly revealing. I wouldn't say it's too revealing in my opinion, but I think it is slightly revealing. This is what I mean, like, with this era, they were taking a slightly darker turn. They were trying to really market Britney and showcase her in this grown-up, mature, sexy way. And it worked because everyone ate it up. Even though people would disagree, they ate it up. This is so Madonna inspired. I can't, but I love it. You see what I mean? Like, she's still perceived as innocent during this era, but she's almost not. Like, people are holding her accountable for different things and, you know, trying to really find out weird information about her personal life. To me, Britney Spears literally looks like a doll in all of these photo shoots. She doesn't look like a real person. She literally looks like a fake Barbie doll, but in the best way. This one is like the epitome of 2000s fashion. The denim, the sunnies, the bright pink top, and the exposed belly, like 2000s. One thing about Britney, she's gonna wear denim. Regardless of where she is, she'll wear denim and she'll wear it so well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this was the last song that she performs on the Dream Within a Dream tour. And just look at her, like, the denim is insane. And the rain, like, I'm so jealous of everyone who went to see her during this time. Every outfit she wore on this tour just screams pop star. Like, there was just no other pop star girly like Britney Spears, and there will never be. She was really in her own lane. I feel like it was in this era Britney went from being a young pop icon to an ultra sex symbol. Her confidence during this era was so evident, and I really feel like there was a lot of Janet Jackson influence on this album and era as a whole. I can only imagine how much pressure Britney was on during this era, but I feel like she really blossomed into her own. Before In the Zone era truly kicked off, the tabloids were running rampant with cheating allegations and breakup headlines surrounding Britney and Justin's relationship. Amidst all this chaos, Britney remained professional, and she finished her Dream Within a Dream tour and headed straight to the studio to create In the Zone. Britney Spears released her fourth studio album on the 1st of November 2003. In the Zone explores various genres and sounds of pop, techno, and urban styles. I feel like the beauty of Britney's music is that it really evolves with each album, and that is seriously evident with this record. At this point in her career, society accepted and acknowledged that Britney was a grown-up young woman. In fact, In the Zone further pushes the boundaries with its lyrical content and racy music videos. This album shares themes of romance, sex, and partying. Her singles include Me Against the Music, Toxic, Outrageous, and Every Time. Once In the Zone first dropped, it debuted atop the Billboard 200 with 609,000 copies sold in its first week. We cannot talk about this era without highlighting this phenomenal performance that Britney gave us yet again. I swear Britney had a deal with the VMAs where she gave us show-stopping performances back to back with each era. In August of 2003, Britney hit that VMA stage with Madonna and Christina Aguilera and gave us an iconic performance. Of course, she ended it off with an intimate, raunchy kiss with Madonna. Like, of course she did that. And it was an incredible marketing move because the tabloids were already talking. This made them talk even more. I feel like in her mind, she acknowledged that the tabloid and the media would not stop talking about her personal life. So she had to make it worthwhile. When Britney was thinking about how to come back on the VMA stage, I feel like she thought, the media's already talking about my personal life, why not make it about that, but with my music, you know? The VMAs are so messy. They panned the camera to Justin Timberlake when she kissed Madonna on that stage. Like, the tea, like, 2000s were a crazy time for messy celeb drama. I'm not even kidding. Like, that just wouldn't happen today. Basically, this era was already off to an incredible start. Stay tuned for part 2 on Get in the Zone with Britney Spears. Welcome to part 2 of Get in the Zone with Britney Spears. Now, when it comes to critics and the commercial performance of this album was commercially successful, but I found that there was a mixed reviews on how people feel about this album then and looking back now. In general, many people loved her singles on this album, but as a record, I feel like there was mixed reviews on whether it was one of her best or not. However, many critics agree that this album was the metamorphosis for Britney, and I couldn't agree more. I feel like she grew so much as an artist and grew so much within herself during this album and era. Fun fact, during this era, at just 21 years old, Britney became the youngest artist to receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. 21 is already an insane age to have this level of fame that Britney had and still has, but receiving something as honorable and iconic as a Walk of Fame star, it just proves how famous and how loved and how valued Britney's music was to the pop scene during the 2000s and still to this day. Britney did everything to perform this album as usual. She did the run of live performances, TV appearances, interviews, some of which were very hard to watch, might I add. Like, the interviews that Britney had during this era were not easy, and I can't imagine actually being Britney during this era because they were so so invasive and so unprofessional. Despite this, Britney still stuck a smile on her face, did her job, remained positive, and pushed through it. To promote this album even further, Britney embarked on her 5th concert tour, the Onyx Hotel Tour. It's such a mouthful. It was originally supposed to be called In the Zone Tour, but there was something to do with the trademark and Britney being sued, so she had to rename it the Onyx Hotel Tour. I had no idea how elaborate this tour was until I researched for this video. It was something. Britney had a crazy stage design. She had a crazy theme. It was all to do with hotels, but she also had a Broadway musical theme going on. Her stage design was incredible. Her choreography was insane. Like, this was bigger and better than ever before. She even reworked some of her old songs and added jazz and blues elements to it. Like, she was very detailed with this tour. Stay tuned for part 3 of Get in the Zone with Britney Spears. The visuals and aesthetics for the In the Zone era were insane. She gave us some legendary music videos, crazy photo shoots, insane tour looks, and staging and everything to do with that tour was amazing. So I really appreciate every intricate detail that was done for this era in terms of visuals and aesthetics. For me, this was one of the best, if not the best. I absolutely adore this album cover, and let me tell you why. I know it's pretty simplistic and doesn't necessarily reflect the music on this album, but I feel like it reflects Britney during this era. The colour blue has many connotations, but it generally is deemed as a calming colour. The colour blue symbolises serenity, stability, and inspiration, and I feel like it genuinely reflected Britney's life during this era. Of course, I don't know if this was really how Britney felt during this era, but she seemed to come across very vulnerable and raw with her attitude and who she was in her interviews, in her music, in the way she performed. It felt like we got a little more of Britney, like the true Britney. Now let's talk about Britney's personal style during the In the Zone era. 2003 was the height of iconic 2000s fashion, and Britney Spears was at the forefront of many trends. It really is funny to look back at the outfits that Britney wore during this time and to see the fashion today that celebrities wear and just see the impact that her fashion and her personal style had on fashion in general. And I don't know, it's just the 2000s era in general, we all know, had a very big impact on fashion today. So I don't know, I just find it super interesting how Britney was really at the forefront of a majority of the trends that we see today. 2000s Britney loved a good bling accessory, fedora hat, fur jacket, anything denim. That was Britney's personal style. How could I forget the tops? Britney loved a statement tee. Anything that had anything controversial on it, Britney was wearing it. I really love that she expressed herself wholly during this era with her fashion. She took that fun approach, you know, she wasn't too serious, wasn't always like super glam. It was messy, it was crazy, but it was fun and wearable. Without a doubt, you can walk down the street today and see so many outfits or pieces that is very reminiscent of Britney's 2003 fashion. In the Zone is a musical masterpiece, and I'm so grateful Britney gave us a personal and intimate experience on this album. Before the release of Blackout, Britney's life was pretty hectic to say the least. She got married, had her first child, brought out her first perfume, had a reality show, became pregnant again, then got divorced and had a custody battle. I don't even know the timelines for these events in Britney's life, but let's just say before the release of Blackout, her life was chaotic. Unfortunately, a big part of the Blackout era was Britney's messy, ongoing relationship with the tabloids and media and the paparazzi. They continuously hounded her during this time and did not stop until she had a breakdown. I just need to correct myself. They didn't stop at all. Even when she had a mental breakdown, they continued and hounded her relentlessly. Now, I'm sure we're all aware of Britney's life during this time and what happened. There's been numerous videos, numerous documentaries, numerous information online about what was going on with Britney during this time. So I won't be delving into that too much, but I'll be specifically focusing on the music era and its impact on pop culture. Britney released her fifth studio album on the 25th of October 2007. Blackout is the first and only executive produced album by Britney herself, and it's a dance pop, electro pop record with Euro disco and dubstep influences. Many of the lyrics and the songs on this album are pretty light-hearted and surround themes of partying, love, and sex. However, Britney almost mocks the media's obsession with her on a few of our favourite songs, such as Piece of Me. And I know Britney didn't write most of the songs on this album. In fact, she only co-wrote 2 of the songs on this album, but it still reflected her life and this period in her life. Upon its release, Blackout debuted at number 2 on the Billboard charts and sold 290,000 copies in its first week. This album also set the record for the highest first week digital sales for a female artist during that time. When this album first came out, critics and the media were so quick to bash this album. They didn't like it, they called it a commercial flop. Everyone was comparing it to her previous albums. Can you believe the audacity of some of these tabloids and people in the media to bash Britney when she's already at her lowest, instead of praising her for even being able to release an album at such a difficult time in her life? And obviously, retrospectively, everyone loves this album, but at the time, it just wasn't given enough praise. Now we established that upon its release, Blackout received mixed reviews and didn't really get a great response from the general public. But it's only now that people realise and recognise Blackout's influence on the mid-2000s pop music scene. Britney made her comeback on the VMA stage after not performing for years, and she performed her hit song, Gimme More. This was her first performance in 3 years, and like I mentioned, the context before this album was released, Britney had gone through a lot publicly. She'd had 2 kids, was in a custody battle, there was a lot going on in her life. If you haven't already watched this performance, go watch it and let me know what you think, because the bar was set so high for Britney Spears that even if she missed one step, people were gonna hate her for it. And when you watch this performance, in her face, you can see she isn't happy, but the performance itself is not that bad. And many people agree with that statement today. Many people will go on and say the performance wasn't as bad. They made it out to be worse than it was. After this performance, there was an influx of hate and negative reviews surrounding Britney's performance. After that performance happened, Britney herself wasn't too happy with it. She continued to push through being professional and release the rest of her singles from her album. However, in terms of promo and album rollout, like, it wasn't anything like Britney had done previously. She didn't really do TV appearances. I think she might have done maybe one recorded interview that I could find, and she didn't really do any more performances. This was kind of the first quiet album rollout that we'd seen from Britney. Also, this was the Leave Britney Alone era. On paper, this was not a great time to release an album. Releasing Blackout during this time was such a bold and courageous move from Britney, and honestly, I have no choice but to stand, because I just feel like this would tear a lot of people down and they would just want to hide away. Everything that she went through was so unbelievable that most people might not have made it. So I just think it was such a bold and courageous move for her to still release an album during this time. I feel like the Blackout era was all about Britney being unapologetic about her life and her struggles. Everything about her life was made public, and this dark period was reflected through her image. Stay tuned for part 3, where I'll be discussing the visuals and aesthetics of the Blackout era. Britney's personal style during the Blackout era can simply only be described as she gave 0 fucks. I can't imagine going through what Britney was going through with the world's eyes on her and then thinking, oh, I need to make sure my outfit looks cute for the paparazzi pictures. No, I'm not going to care about how I look, and I don't think Britney cared either. Towards the beginning of 2007, Britney was wearing a lot of outfits like this, quite regular outfits and similar to what she was wearing in previous years. I really like this outfit. I feel like it just screams 2007. It's just the epitome of the fashion trends at that time. Pre-Blackout, a lot of Britney's style consisted of that 2000s party girl aesthetic. But during the album rollout period, it was much moodier and darker, and Britney was literally giving two shits about what she was wearing. This was also the period that Britney was wearing a lot of wigs, and honestly, I feel like this was the time that Britney was really trying to have some sort of escapism with her life, some sort of differentiation to who she was as how the world perceived her and who she really was as a person, if that makes sense. She was taking on a lot of new personalities and styles just to try and make sense of her life, I feel like. Also, the era that Britney was speaking in accents and just being super sarcastic with the paparazzi, of course, because they were continuously hounding her. What else was she meant to do? Considering this era was a very dark period for Britney's personal life, it's absolutely outstanding that she was able to create such a cohesive and loved body of work. When you now look back, there's so many iconic moments from this era that we all love. It was in this era that we witnessed the birth of It's Britney Bitch. Even her then hated VMA performance is so loved in pop culture today. Today, Blackout is considered Britney's magnum opus because without it, we may not have had albums like Lady Gaga's The Fame and Rihanna's Rated R. Britney spearheaded the dark pop sound that became the standard for pop music artists all over in the mid-2000s. Upon Blackout's release, that dark pop sound was absolutely everywhere. Even when you listen to that kind of music and Blackout today, you realize how well it's aged. Instead of focusing and discussing the heavy scrutiny that Britney was under by the media in this era, I'd rather highlight how empowering this music era was for Britney as an artist.